Star Wars has officially redeemed the worst mistake George Lucas made with one of his characters. The Star Wars prequel trilogy faced a lot of criticism when it first premiered, some of it earned, much of it overblown or even downright hostile. Now, years later, the Star Wars prequels are finally being viewed with a different perspective, as their legacy continues to influence the franchise in unexpected and unprecedented ways. Some of the trilogy's worst failures have even been rectified. Famously, one of the biggest issues with the prequel trilogy was the way Star Wars, Episode I, The Phantom Menace handled the introduction and subsequent death of Darth Sidious' first on-screen apprentice, Darth Maul. Despite Maul's prominent inclusion in the prequel movie's promotional materials, an understandable move, given his striking character design and iconic double-bladed lightsaber, the terrifying Zabrak was cut in half by a young Obi-Wan Kenobi, seemingly never to be seen again. There's plenty of evidence to suggest Lucas knew he'd made a mistake killing Maul so early, including his direct involvement in Maul's resurrection in the animated series Star Wars, The Clone Wars. Lucas also reportedly planned to use Maul as one of the primary villains in his unrealized version of the sequel trilogy. Still, it wasn't until much more recently that Maul truly became a well-rounded, emotionally complex character and the protagonist of his own tragic story. Disney's Star Wars has improved Darth Maul's story. While Maul's revival was originally spearheaded by Lucas, Disney's Star Wars has taken his story to the next level. In 2018 Solo, A Star Wars Story, Maul finally spoke on the big screen for the first time, his holographic cameo as the Crimson Dawn leader an obvious acknowledgement of his role as a criminal mastermind in the earlier seasons of Star Wars, The Clone Wars. Later, his short arc in Disney Plus' The Clone Wars Season 7 had an undeniable impact on Star Wars' wider story. His duel with Ahsoka Tano on Mandalore was one of the highlights of the show, if not the entire franchise. Of course, long before Disney Plus brought back The Clone Wars for a well-deserved but surprising seventh and final season, Disney had already introduced an older version of Maul during one of the galaxy's most pivotal eras. Between Star Wars Rebels Seasons 2 and 3, Maul proved he was still one of the most terrifying, persuasive, and manipulative characters in the galaxy, using Ezra Bridger's desperation to defeat the Empire against him in a bid to take his revenge on Obi-Wan Kenobi once and for all. Maul and Obi-Wan's brief final duel under the moons of Tatooine was one of the most emotionally driven and beautifully choreographed fights in all of Star Wars, and finally gave Maul the chance to lay his hatred to rest. He knew Palpatine would one day be defeated. That was enough. After all that, it was clear there was a lot more the franchise could explore with Maul. Disney Plus' most recent animated show, Star Wars, Maul, Shadow Lord, is not only an excellent character study but an incredible homage to George Lucas' original sequel trilogy ideas. For the first time since his unfortunate first death, Maul is the hero of his own show, his criminal undertakings a way to wage his own war against the Empire's oppression. He's still desperate for an apprentice, and he finds one in Devon Azara, a young Twi'lek Order 66 survivor who reluctantly joins Maul's side after the death of her Jedi Master. In Lucas-reported sequel trilogy scripts, Maul and his apprentice, a red-skinned Twi'lek named Darth Talon, inspired by the character's story in the Star Wars expanded universe, would together lead a criminal empire while also terrorizing the galaxy as Sith, all while Leia and Luke try to rebuild the Republic and the Jedi, respectively. Star Wars, Maul, Shadow Lord, set just after the fall of the Republic, brings Maul's resurrection journey full circle, digging deeper into his trauma at Darth Sidious' hands and his need for emotional connection. Maul has never been a better or more interesting character than he is right now. Maul's Star Wars story is far from overcredit, Disney Plus via MovieStills.db. Thankfully, Lucasfilm has confirmed that Star Wars, Maul, Shadow Lord will return for Season 2. Where Maul's story goes from here is crucial. Solo's Dryden Voss is now actively involved in Maul's Shadow Lord arc, meaning the second, and potentially third, season will likely focus on how Maul inserts himself as Crimson Dawn's leader before the events of Solo, A Star Wars Story. Will Emilia Clarke's character Chiara, who's had an incredible run in the Star Wars comics, make an appearance too? Then, of course, there's the question of Devon's apprenticeship. Maul has been after an apprentice since his brother, Savage Opress, died during a three-way duel with Darth Sidious in the Clone Wars, a desperate bid to fill a hole in his heart and make himself stronger against Sidious and now, of course, the one and only Darth Vader. After Maul's incredible confrontation with Vader on Janix in the Season 1 finale of Shadow Lord, Maul's hatred for Sidious and the Sith will run deeper than ever. Hopefully, the show will eventually also depict how Maul ended up stranded alone on the Sith planet Malachor in Star Wars Rebels. While George Lucas took the first step in fixing his Darth Maul mistake, recent Star Wars stories have taken the character to a whole new level, exploring his history with his master, his deep-rooted trauma, and his never-ending ambition. Few characters in Star Wars have enjoyed such an impressive, impactful, and wholly deserved comeback.